This is Mrs. Miller, your teacher at ELA Academy. Today, I'll be demonstrating how to write a descriptive body paragraph. If you haven't watched Essay Basics Part 4 yet, be sure to do that first. Just in case you didn't watch the last demonstration video, let's do a quick review of what we need in a body paragraph. A topic sentence, which we've color-coded blue, concrete details, which are red, and commentary, which is green. But a descriptive paragraph has its own special needs as well. You'll definitely need to describe things you can sense, things you can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. If you're focusing on a particular object, you might include its purpose and how it works. And if you're focusing on a person, you'll also want to account for his or her personality. Now, don't look at this slide and panic. I know it looks like a lot of stuff, but we're going to focus on one thing at a time. For now, we'll just worry about being descriptive. For this demonstration, I'll use the same essay that we used in Essay Basics Part 5 for the narrative paragraph. I won't go over the kernel essay again, but the paragraph we'll focus on is this one, the moment where I and the other victims were looking at the final accident scene. Now, really the way this kernel essay is set up, this paragraph is mostly descriptive, but you'll see a little narrative as well where I'm walking from my car to the accident scene. For brainstorming, I set up this simple table just so that I can try to cover all the senses while I'm coming up with ideas. And here again is the most important sentence in the paragraph, the image that the rest of this description sort of revolves around. The man was standing next to his truck, staring at where his front end tangled with a woman's trunk. So now I'll jot down as many vivid details as I can in each column. So what do I see? His car, the guy who hit us. It was a white, full-sized SUV. His bumper was resting really close to her back window. And it was sort of crooked. The hood was all bent up. There were fluids pooling. So I don't know anything about cars, but I know there were several different fluids puddling under the car. Then her car, the lady that he hit last, it was red. I have no idea what make and model it was since he smashed up the logos. Her rear end or trunk was virtually disintegrated. It was in little bits. The rear window was completely shattered. The back seat and the empty baby seat were full of glass. There was this huge pointy piece in the baby seat. And it freaked me out thinking about what might have happened if the baby had been there. Okay. That's plenty of things that I saw. Now, what about things that I heard? So, cars were speeding by on the service road. Do a little whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And nobody else slowed down to help or anything like that. Oops. We heard sirens coming. Sounds were kind of weird because I was still in shock. It was kind of like I had cotton in my ears. I remember how I hardly heard anything else while I was walking back to the other cars, just my feet crunching on the gravel. One of the cars was cooling down, and so the engine was making a ticking noise. And the old man's car was still running. It was idling on the side. All right, what about taste? Wasn't a lot of taste, but we kind of taste smells, right? So the smells from the accident were almost like an acid on the back of my tongue. That's enough for that. Okay, touch. I remember stepping on a thick pile of rocks and I almost tripped. So and I remember thinking I really didn't need a sprained ankle on top of a car accident. I remember since the old man's SUV was still running, there was a lot of heat radiating off of it. Okay, what about the smell? There was smoke, definitely. And some of the fluids probably had kind of a sweet smell. And then with all the cars passing, there was a very strong gasoline smell. Okay, and then observing the people, the other drivers. Let me talk about the man who hit us first. He was an older guy. He looked like he was in his 70s. He was neatly dressed, sort of it looked like he'd been out working on something. He was wearing jeans with his shirt tucked in. Had kind of a scruffy gray beard. When I first saw him, he was standing near the front end of his car, staring like the most important sentence in the paragraph, staring at the where the cars were tangled together. Oops. Beard, not bears. And he looked kind of confused. He didn't look like he was understanding what he saw. And then the lady that he hit last, her car had been stopped at the light, so he totally smashed into her. Her door was open and she was sitting in her seat. And when we were asking her if she was okay, if anything hurt, she was responding very slowly, so we kind of figured she was in shock as well. All right, now I have lots of ideas to help me start writing the paragraph. I probably won't use all of them, but I have lots of stuff to work with. So let's look at one last thing before I actually write it. Remember this? Each paragraph needs to have a topic sentence, concrete details, and commentary. So let's go back to my brainstorming and color code it real quick. Remember this sentence from the kernel essay? We said it was the most important sentence of this paragraph. That means it's the topic sentence, so we've made it blue. Now let's look at the rest. We'll have red for concrete details and green for commentary. Notice that everything that would be in a video of this car accident is in red. They're details that anyone could see if they were there. The other things, like my thoughts and feelings, act as the commentary. We don't have time for you to watch the whole process while I turn this into a paragraph, so I'll just give you the final product. But remember that it does take some rewriting and moving ideas around. This paragraph didn't just spring from my mind fully formed. All right, here's the final product. I opened my car door to get out and heard the whoosh, whoosh, whoosh as cars sped by, untouched and unconcerned by our crisis. Sirens approached in the distance. I began walking back the way I came, still in shock, all sound muted as though I had cotton in my ears, the crunching of my feet strangely loud as I walked along the shoulder toward the other cars. I stepped on a thick mound of rocks and stumbled, barely catching myself in time and thinking I really didn't need a sprained ankle on top of this. When I arrived at the final accident scene, I could see that the SUV I'd spotted in my rearview mirror had finally been halted by a car stopped at the red light. A man I assumed was the driver stood near where his front end tangled with the trunk of a red sedan. He was an older man, probably in his 70s, wearing faded jeans and a neatly tucked shirt and a slightly scruffy gray beard. He stared at the twisted metal blankly as though confused. A woman sat in the sedan with the driver's door open. Another man was asking her questions to see whether she was all right, and her reaction seemed very slow. I wasn't surprised. The man's bumper, now askew, rested just short of her back window. His hood was bent like a mountain range and fluids pooled on the pavement. Her trunk was virtually disintegrated. The rear windshield was shattered. The back seat was full of broken glass, and seeing a particularly large, jagged piece resting in the empty baby seat, I shuddered at the thought of what might have happened if her baby had been with her. Now, here it is color-coded. Remember, we have blue for the topic sentence, red for concrete details, what we would see with the video camera, and green for commentary, my thoughts and feelings. By making sure that we have a good mix of concrete details and commentary, the paragraph is much stronger than if we left one of those out. The concrete details paint a picture for the reader, and the commentary helps to interpret what's happening and give it deeper meaning. I hope this demonstration has given you some ideas for crafting your own vivid descriptive paragraph. Click on the link in the video description below to access free materials and links that go with this lesson. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest so that you can be the first to know when I post more videos in this series. You can also find helpful materials for each and every video at elaacademy.us. This is ELA Academy.